All right.
All right, folks, this is JD Solomon, and I'm going to call the August meeting of the PD River Basin Council to order. We're going to be virtual today, so Tom, you have a log of everybody that's on the call. I want to make sure we have a quorum before we get started. Do we have a quorum if we have to take action today?
It does not look like it yet.
Okay.
Let me double check the numbers here. Go ahead and keep talking there.
Okay. So you guys have got the agenda in advance. I'm trying to pull that up myself for some reason. And you see the objectives.
It should be on your screen. You all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on a second here, guys. Give me just a minute to see if I can't know what's happening to that. All right. For some reason, I can't see your screen, Tom, but that's just probably something on my end. But you guys have the objectives to the meeting. I think it will be a fairly brief meeting this morning. We're going to basically talk about some of the chapters and progress on that. We're going to talk about the groundwater model and any other future actions you guys may want to discuss. Any changes or modifications to the objectives or to the agenda before we get started? Okay, so hearing none, let's take a discussion and get a motion on the minutes from the July meeting. Anything anybody wants to add off the start? Any corrections or deletions anybody sees? Okay, so hearing none, we'll take a motion. If you'll say who you are, whoever wants to make the first motion, and a second. Do I have a motion?
This is Jeff Steinmetz. I motion to approve.
Okay. Let's say, do we have a second?
John Crutchfield, second.
Very good. John Crutchfield, second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, the next piece will be just kind of an open forum. I'll open it up as we always do for public comment. So anybody from the public that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll keep that open, and anybody from one of the agencies want to have a comment at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public comment period and move on to the first agenda item. So Matt, I believe you have the floor for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, JD, that's right.
Jane?
And Jane should be on the call to walk us through that, and I'm here to support that.
Okay, very good. Jane, all yours.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to turn my camera on just for a moment so that I can introduce myself. I'm Jane McDonough. I'm the Brown and Caldwell team's project manager. I've been working behind the scenes with Matt and JD and the rest of the team just to do general coordination. You have not seen me at any of your meetings before, so I want to introduce myself before I get started, but I'm here to help Matt with the chapter discussion today. Matt is attending a conference, so he doesn't have the capability to be online with you guys, but so I'm going to walk us through, and Matt's going to provide any commentary that we may need. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off, and I'll share my screen. I'll just start running through some of the chapter status that we have. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay, great. So you all should know that we have a shared folder where we have posted all of the preliminarily approved chapters so that you guys have access to them at any time. This is a SharePoint OneDrive folder. If anybody has not found a link to that or has had difficulty getting in, you can certainly reach out to me. I'd be happy to help anybody get into that folder if you need it. But the chapters that we have in that preliminary final status are Chapter 1, Introduction, Chapter 2, Descriptions of the Basins, Chapter 3, Water Resources, Chapter 5, the surface water portion of the water resource availability and water demand chapter, and then Chapter 8, drought response. All of those chapters are finished with the exception of making any updates needed to incorporate groundwater information. Then we also have several chapters that are in progress, so I'll just run through the status of those. Chapter 4 is one we've been working on for a while, but we did need some data to finish that chapter. We believe we've received all of the data we need now, so we're working on finishing that one up. Chapter 6 is essentially finished, except that we received some feedback from Mike this morning on water management strategies for golf courses. So thank you, Mike, for that. We'll get that incorporated. Won't take us very long. So we'll seek preliminary approval of that chapter the next time you all are together in person. Chapter 7 is water management strategy recommendations. I'm going to stick that one up on the screen. That one was sent to subcommittee yesterday, so they'll have it through about roughly mid-September. Once we get their comments, we'll submit that to the full RBC, so you can expect to see it somewhere around the end of September timeframe. So Chapter 7 is water management strategy recommendations, and this is based on all of the work that you all have been doing to make recommendations. We talk about the process that you all went through for selection, prioritization, and justification for the recommended strategies. We've got the scoring information in this chapter. We've got the tables with all of the different strategies and how the scores came out, the rankings. So then, we have a description of the process that you all went through for the various ranking procedures. And so that's what that chapter is a summary of that process that you went through. So it's got some nice graphics at the end. And so that's what the subcommittee will be reviewing over the next few weeks, and you all will be receiving relatively soon after that.
Just
Chapter
a
9.
real quick, just a real quick interjection, Jane. I've already gotten some feedback from folks on that section, so on the subcommittee. So just really appreciate people diving into that.
Yeah, definitely. We always look forward to getting everybody's input. So chapter 9.
If I can, this is JD to interject too with the prioritization. I was really pleased with how that turned out. I think Matt was too. It kind of matched our narrative discussion, and anytime you do something kind of semi-scientifically, it should, but they kind of closed in on each other. So I don't think you'll see many surprises, but just a reminder, we do formal things, but it really is based on what you guys see on the ground and what you want to do. So as you get this chapter, take a read. But I was pretty happy with the agreement we seem to get from our narrative type discussions versus our more scientific way of doing things. So Matt, you were pretty pleased too, weren't you, on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was. I thought the rankings sort of made sense too, based on the things that we've talked about through the process, and seemed like a real focus on using water efficiently and where we can using less water, but also interest in innovative approaches. So I thought those were all kind of good results from that process.
That's great. Anybody else have any comments? All right, just moving on, chapter 9 is also in progress. We started developing that chapter based on the policy and technical recommendations that you all have been developing. The only thing left to do is work the final prioritization into the chapter. So we're working on that now, and we'll have it out to you all, or to the subcommittee at least, by the next RBC meeting. So that one is just about wrapped up. Chapter 10, which is River Basin Plan implementation, we have started working on that chapter based on the input received while we've been developing the other chapters and working with you all. Obviously, that'll be distributed for review and input once it's finished, but that is in progress, which is kind of its compilation of all the information that you all have already developed. And then finally, the executive summary is the next thing that we have started working on. I'll stick that one up on the screen as well. This one, Matt sent out to you guys about a week ago. We just want to get your input on the structure of the executive summary. It's just an outline right now with a little bit of text filled in, but we want to get your input on the outline and basically what the contents will be for the executive summary. So we're going to continue pulling information into it, but if we could get any comments or suggestions within about 2 weeks, September 10th timeframe, we'd appreciate it in case we need to do any reformatting or change, the intent with the content. So I'm just flipping through that slowly, but it's of course meant to be a summary of all of the work that you all have already done and is expressed in the full report. And so it's fairly straightforward, but yeah, we'd appreciate any input. So did you have any more you wanted to say about that, Matt?
Yeah, just real quick. It is modeled on the executive summaries that were put together for the Edisto and the Broad Basin. So there's similarity in terms of, overall structure, but of course it'll be wholly focused on the PD when we fill in the content. And one other item, I did get a little bit of feedback already from John Crutchfield, so appreciate that, and we will look at that and incorporate it.
Any questions or comments from for Matt or for Jane here? Okay, well, hearing none. Anybody got any, please chime in, but I appreciate everybody taking a look at this, and we're kind of coming down the stretch. So I don't see any waning of attention of people that have been reading very intently, and hopefully some of you that may not have read as intently will start reading intently because we're coming down the stretch. So, but I do appreciate everybody. And I know the whole team collectively, we all appreciate our collective effort. So thank you all for everything you've done and the quick feedback you're giving us. So, Matt, anything further before I move on?
No, that was great. Thanks, JD.
Okay. All right. So, I volunteered to be the meet between the vice or the hard rubber or whatever the rubber meets the road, whatever you want to call it on this one. And as I preface this, I know we'll probably have some comments, but I just remind everybody, we are where we are. And so I don't think, kicking it or digging it back too far will matter much. We've got to figure out our way forward. We've kind of found out in the last day that the groundwater model will be completed probably sometime in the future, but not on the schedule that we had hoped for. So there's some reasons for that, a lot of technical reasons that can be discussed. Administratively, we know that a contractor agreement between the agencies will not be coming anytime soon as far as getting this through. So from a real executive level, agency level, we've kind of decided to move on. We don't want to move on without the RBC kind of been able to ask questions or express their support or discontent or whatever that may be. But we have talked, as just remind everybody, we talked about a plan A and a plan B back in the spring, when we were struggling a little bit with the model. In May, things look good, from the USGS perspective, as we've gotten into the summer. And y'all may have gotten a little bit of, I don't think it was a hint, but it wasn't going to be, we knew last month it wasn't going to be finished early. So, but what's kind of transpired in the last month and in the recent days is the reality that it's not going to match our timeline. And so the way forward, and I've got Matt from the consultant side and Brooke from the agency side on the call, but we're going to activate plan B if the RBC will bless it. And we will take the information we have at this point and get the remaining chapters completed, so that certainly we won't have all that done in September, but October timeframe, you may have a whole document to approve, and certainly by November, and then we'll have a 30-day comment period. But sometime end of the year, early next, we'll have a completed plan. Again, with the intent that in a future phase, and something that should be written into the implementation plan, that we will incorporate this groundwater information from the model when we have it. So I just said a lot, so I'm gonna take a breath and let Brooke or Matt, y'all clean what up I said, or Scott or whoever, and we can take some comments or questions from the RBC. So Scott or Brooke, anything you guys want to say from y'all's perspective?
Well, I'll just add that, yeah, we do intend to complete the modeling work in collaboration with the USGS, but we're going to do it outside the context of the planning process right now for the PD. And when we're comfortable that we have that work done and results in, we'll evaluate, how we want to communicate that to the RBC in the future. But certainly hope to incorporate the groundwater modeling effort in future iterations of planning for sure. So we're not abandoning the model of this effort at all. It's just not fitting into the schedule to complete this plan right now. So like JD said, that's where we're at. And I can take any questions if needed as well, JD.
Okay. And my concern from a facilitation is Scott, with not necessarily with you or Andrea as much as it is with Brooke and Matt, and make sure RBC feels good that we can push on through and get this done. Brooke, you or Matt want to add anything to this as far as getting her done from this point forward? Y'all feel good?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is Brooke. So if we remember back in January, I gave a presentation when we weren't sure if we were going to be able to move forward with the model. And so we feel well prepared to use observed historical data, the potentiometric maps that we've created, information from the capacity use area groundwater management plans and evaluations, to be able to look at where groundwater use has occurred in the past, what management actions have been taken, and how the aquifers have responded, and so that we can still put forth good recommendations and management strategies for how to manage water, over the planning horizon, even without the model. So we feel confident that we can still put out a good product and have a path forward. We have good feedback from our breakout sessions that we did. I believe that was sometime earlier this spring, where Andy Walkup and I presented those POT maps and the available data. So that is the path that we are going to move forward on, and would love to hear some comments or concerns or ideas from the RBC that would help us forge that path to get the Basin plan complete, in a reasonable timeline.
And
Hey,
maybe
Jake.
just from my perspective, Brooke did a great job of summarizing, my thoughts. just one real quick note that I think, the basin has seen challenges with regard to groundwater supplies in the past, and the toolbox for addressing those challenges is probably the same going forward as it has been in the past. And so, while it's disappointing that we won't have a groundwater model to forecast what those groundwater challenges might look like, I think the ways in which we would address those are in some ways fairly well known. And so, like Brooke said, I think that we can rely on the experience of folks in the basin to provide a plan that has a lot of value.
Okay, we had a comment. Let me get a few RBC comments if I could, please. Who was trying to get in there? Anybody?
I'll just say that I think I'm comfortable with using the data that Brooke talked about to move forward at this point.
Okay.
This is Buddy Richardson. Are we the only River Basin Council affected by this because it incorporates North Carolina data?
No.
This is Scott, JD. Can you hear me all right? I'm having internet
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah, I'll hear you now.
Well, we're going to talk with the USGS about the approach in other basins. For us, that's a little bit up in the air right now. The delays in the PD have certainly caused delays in the lower Savannah area. And we're going to talk to the USGS about whether we should do the groundwater modeling work in the lower Savannah as well. So we're going to have those conversations, and it's kind of undecided at this point. But for the PD, we're already well into 2 years in the process. Just felt like it was time to maybe move on in the PD, and we'll reevaluate the lower Savannah here soon.
Yeah, and refresh everybody's memory. I think, and Scott, you can fill this in, but Edisto had more of a general model from the old model, and PD was going to be really the first with the tighter grid. And so that's where we had it kind of, I guess, as a guinea pig before these lower Savannah ones. And so that's kind of where we're at. So
so let's move forward with what we got.
Yeah. And again, yesterday we had a kind of an emergency call yesterday afternoon, guys. We started to send this out to everybody in an email late yesterday, but it didn't make a lot of sense. It probably caused more confusion than telling you this morning. So that's kind of why we're just breaking it to you right now. So this is about as fresh as it gets, I think, for everybody. How about John Crutchfield or any other people on the line? Okay, yes, Scott, yes.
I'm sorry. Just wanted to make another comment about the groundwater right up in the plan, and I can't remember if you touched on this or maybe Brooke did, but there is the capacity use program and the groundwater management plans that has a set of recommendations in there that are it's a good set of recommendations and relevant. I think in the River Basin plan, I think we talked about yesterday incorporating a summary of those recommendations in the plan, just so that they're documented. But if there's any other recommendations that the council wants to make and can agree upon, they can be added to the plan as well, not to the groundwater management plan, but just to the River Basin plan for future consideration. So there'll be some information about the groundwater management plans documented in the basin, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is that right, JD?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And I think when we get back together, Scott, at one of the future meetings when we're together, that we will have a little breakout session on the groundwater piece. It may be good for Matt and team to get the drafts pulled together, and then we can have a kind of maybe a breakout to talk to. Is there something we're missing that's not in the documentation so far? So
sounds good.
You are correct. Okay. Other thoughts? Michael Hemingway, John Crutchfield. I can't see everybody on the call, but I know some of y'all really wanted to model. But what do you think?
Well, JD, I think where we are, we just go with the recommended approach. Two things is just make sure I think it's well documented within the plan of the process we used and where we wound up. It's clearly documented. And then consider, I don't know when the next, after this plan is approved, when the next update would be. If it'd be 5 years down the road, I may want to consider if that's the next cycle of review, maybe consider an addendum to the report if the modeling is completed before 5 years, just to make sure things are timely in the information that's available.
That's a great recommendation, especially in the implementation chapter. That'd be great. Okay. Anybody else? Please chime in.
Hey, this is Deborah with Winyard Rivers Alliance. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Can you
morning,
hear me
Deborah.
okay?
Yes.
Yes, I like your idea of having like a breakout and having further discussions. I know we need to go with what we've got because of our timeline, but it's hard to imagine that we don't have the groundwater in there. So I think that would be we need to continue, but I think that does lead to further discussions. Like I said, like you said, a breakout. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Matt will pull all that together and report, and we have what's in the toolbox now and groundwater management plans, and we'll see what else we need to add to it once we get that drafted up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, hearing nothing else, we won't beat this to death. I've got a few things. Lindsay says she agrees. Michael Hemingway says he agrees. If you disagree or really got heartburn, please give me a call or give Buddy a call. We'll be glad to talk about, how we can facilitate a better solution or something else. Eric Kruger says he's good. But certainly we want everybody to feel as good as we can about it. But I think we've given it a good hard double try here. And Doug says he's good. So we'll do our best. But please do give me or Buddy a call if anybody's got really strong heartburn about it. So thank y'all very much. There's Mike B coming in. Okay, good. All right, so I'm gonna move on. Jeff said he agreed earlier. Okay. Closing comments and upcoming topics. I think the focus will probably be the report reviews. Ideally, I think let's see where we are. Ideally, as we get into these detailed reports, especially things like 6 and 7, we probably need to be face to face together. But I also know that we've got a drought management type presentation that wants to be live. Let us look at the end of September and the end of October. I would say one of those two meetings will be live and one of them will be virtual, but maybe give us another week to look at that and think about that. Get some thoughts now on that as well as we get closing comments and upcoming topics. But that's really going to be the focus as we come down the last couple months here. So open that up, and then Buddy, I'll give it to you. Anybody got any other closing comments or thoughts?
JD, I'd rather have a face-to-face meeting in September rather than skip to have two virtual back-to-backs. Just my opinion.
Yeah, that's my gut too. That really is my gut too. It's we can't have too many virtual and lose everybody. We need to come together. So Matt, you hear that, don't you? If you're still here, need to have some chapters
Yeah,
done
I
so
do.
maybe we can have some work groups to do that. Make our time meaningful, right?
No, I think that sounds good.
Okay. Well, hearing any other comments at this point, if you do, please just pipe in. Okay. All right, we're hearing none other, Buddy. I'll kind of give it to you to wrap up and get everybody going.
All right. Thank you, JD. Yeah, looking at the calendar, it looks like our next meeting would be September 24th, fourth Tuesday in September, and I will not be here. I've got a meeting in Kansas City that week, so I'll be out the whole week doing our national training out there that week, so I'll miss it, but I'm sure y'all will do fine. Matt, thank you for those emails. I've read through chapter 7. I just haven't made any comments yet, but I'll be reading through it more and make comments and get back to you. And that
Great. Thank you.
all right. And that SharePoint site, is it on that chapter 7 is on the SharePoint site yet, or that you wait for comment before you put it there?
Waiting for comments. Yeah, it's not up there yet.
All right. All right. All right. Well, good meeting, guys, and thank you for everyone that showed up. September 24th will be here. Yeah, September 24th will be here soon. It seems like these meetings come around fairly quick. Yeah, whoever's got these chapters in front of them, if Matt kind of look towards you to review them and give them some feedback, please do that. And give them some feedback, or whether you're good with it or whether you do see some things that you would like to change. That way it verifies to him that you did have an opportunity to review it. Again, thanks to all y'all putting this together. And Tom, thank you for overseeing this meeting and keeping us keeping it moving along and providing us a portal to have these virtual meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks y'all for being here.
Yep, that's it. And I'm gonna miss y'all next month, but if things change, I will certainly be there. But more than likely, it's a done deal. I will not be there, but I'll catch you in October. And that's it.
All right.
Thank you,
All
everybody.
right.
Meeting
Y'all be
is
good.
adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.